So I'm Bailey Peacock, and my action assignment was over fire safety measures, specifically teaching children the stop, drop, and roll method. So using augmented reality interfaces could make you ask yourself, what is augmented reality? And it is a variation of virtual environments, or virtual reality as it is more commonly called. Virtual environment technologies completely immerse a user inside a synthetic environment. While immersed, the user cannot see the real world around him. In contrast, AR allows the user to see the real world with virtual objects superimposed upon or composited with the real world. Therefore, AR supplements reality rather than completely replacing it. So as far as teaching children safety, fire safety, I thought of a augmented design invention where a child could use a headset gear that had goggles or glasses that would have images pop up along with some earphones to hear sound as well during it. But my idea was that they could see through the goggles whatever would pop up while still being able to see what was behind them. So if they were in their house and there was a chair or something behind them while they were doing this, they would see the fire or smoke that I'll talk about next, but also still be able to see that chair in the background so they can, maneuver around and not run into anything. So while they're wearing those two pieces, they would also be wearing these body pieces, like a wraparound Velcro type thing on their arms and legs maybe, and it would be able to give off like hot or cold temperatures so they could feel it, and also be able to pick up cues from the environment, like what kind of ground they would be rolling on, which I'll get to next. So in my mind, the way I would appear this to work would be they'd put on these goggles or glasses, and the application to teach fire safety would begin. Everything would appear normal in their room, and then a few minutes later, a few seconds later, the scenario would begin with suddenly the room they're in becomes foggy. They see smoke start to get more and more apparent, and then flames start to pop up. And right as that's happening, the bodysuit would start heating up to make them feel like they're actually on fire to a safe degree of temperature. Of course, nothing super hot that would really hurt their skin, but you get what I mean. But and then there could be like a avatar type human pops up on the screen at this point that's saying stop, drop, and roll, stop, drop, and roll, and it would be demonstrating it too. So the child would see it done, and then they would hear it, so then they would know, okay, I need to do this too. So as far as the body sensors, whenever they go to stop, drop, and roll, they could be designed where they would feel these this certain piece of equipment would feel the rolling, and it would maybe require a certain amount of rolls and pressure to make it to then go away, to make sure the child doesn't just drop once and roll and expect it to just be over. But it would kind of give a guideline to how long the child should roll, and if they're rolling at a correctly, I mean, they might be rolling to where like unevenly on their body, so maybe their upper body is getting the pressure rolling, so the fire might go out, but maybe their legs are not hitting right like they should be. So this could monitor that, and after they do it the right way, then and a certain requirements met, then the temperature thing would go back to normal like it began, and the smoke and fire would start to disappear off of their screen. Here is a video of me stop, dropping, and rolling. So some actions that I didn't even think about. I didn't think about my surroundings really. I didn't think about what was on the floor, even though there was some expo markers and some blankets and a pillow. I didn't think about how close the couch was to the TV stand, if I was going to be short enough to even fit through it, which I ended up being able to, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't really think about this was being carpet or if it was outside what the ground was, I just immediately did it, because in real life you don't really have time to think about all those things. You just drop. I didn't even think about how my arm was gonna kind of meet the ground before I did. I did it in a safe way, but some people might end up doing it a little more spastically and could end up breaking something, so hopefully that won't happen. What should you tell children, and what would cause further burn issues? So, of course, we tell children stop, drop, and roll. It's pretty self-explanatory, but then again, it's children, and sometimes what seems simple to us might not be as simple to them. So, I would first off tell them, not to try and completely just land on their arms, but to still do it swiftly. But so as far as stopping, I would emphasize this means do not run. Of course, when you're a child, and in general, when something crazy happens like that last minute and you're in shock, the tendency might be to run, fight or flight. But I would say put emphasis on that, and then drop to the ground, and then roll, but also to cover your face with your hands and keep your legs straight and roll over and over and back and forth until the fire's out. But most importantly, whenever, I know when I was a kid, it was common to hear, in case of a fire, stop, drop, and roll. But, you only need to stop, drop, and roll if your body or your clothes are on fire. But just if you happen to be in a room where a fire starts, it's still important to make sure there's still time to evacuate. Just because there's a fire doesn't always mean you stop, drop, and roll right then. There's certain ways you need to stay low to avoid the smoke when trying to escape, and all those things before it gets bad to the point that your actual body or clothes are on fire. So my solution is going back to the device I was talking about. I would then maybe so basically the device I think would be useful, because just telling a child stop, drop, and roll if you ever are on fire is a lot different than when the time comes and someone were to actually catch on fire with just all the crazy adrenaline and stuff. So being able to hear those directions, but then having this augmented reality that gives you those environmental cues of you see it on a screen, but your skin's also feeling it, and have those happen at the same time that you're being told stop, drop, and roll. I think working all those together would make someone a little more prepared when the time actually comes, as opposed to only being told when you're young, if you ever get caught on fire, stop, drop, and roll. So that is my proposition. And even in the book, they talk about, when they're talking about designing to persuade, 2 of the key points they used and went into detail about was visibility and feedback. And using the device I was explaining has both of those, which supports my reasoning. And these are my references. Thanks.